G'day there guys, and welcome to some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Okie dokie, we're on relationship advice. This one was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, Dad won't spend Christmas with brother-in-law, and Mum is blaming my wife. This is a throwaway account as I have work colleagues on my main that I don't want to know about my family drama, and spelling would be rubbish as I'm fuming right now. Obligatory all names have been changed. So, for the backstory, I, 36 female, and married to the love of my life, 36 female, Kay. We met when we were 17. She was out and proud, whilst I was still in the closet, so we didn't start dating until I came out at 21. We got married in 2019 and have an adopted 4-year-old son, Jack. This comes in relevant in a minute. My sister, 27, Sarah, has a long-term boyfriend, 28, Steve, who the family cannot stand. They've been together for 8 years, and the whole family has hated him from the first time we met him. He is rude, obnoxious, arrogant, and all in all a crappy human being. He's also someone that likes to claim that he is just honest, but if someone is honest back to him, he flips out and sulks like a toddler. In fact, my toddler is better behaved than him. He isn't abusive to Sarah and doesn't direct these comments towards her, it's just the rest of us. He's actually a good partner to her and treats her well, which is his one redeeming quality. My dad and Kay hate him the most and will do anything to avoid him at family gatherings. Kay usually just ignores him and brushes off anything he says to her as she doesn't like conflict. However, there have been a few occasions that she has said something back, but it's usually said in a joking manner, which amuses my dad to no end. My mum is a peacekeeper and will do anything to avoid drama, so she just changes the topic whenever he starts. But she and my grandparents all hate him just as much as the rest of us. Sarah is the only one that obviously doesn't hate him. Our son's birth mother, Tess, was Kay's best friend, who sadly died in 2021. This was a real shock, as she had an underlying heart condition that she didn't know about and simply went to sleep one night and never woke up. Jack had been left alone in his cot all day screaming for his mum before Kay got worried that Tess wasn't answering her texts and went to their house to see if she was okay. She found Jack in his cot and Tess in her bed. We adopted Jack as no one in Tess's family was in a position to take him in. We raise him as our own, but he knows who Tess is. Obviously, this is a very sensitive topic for Kay as it was so traumatic for her and Jack. Now, on to what happened last weekend. It was the anniversary of Tess's death on Saturday, so Kay, Jack and I went to visit her grave. Kay is always quiet after going to see her, and this time of year is especially hard for her. On Sunday, we had a family gathering at my parents' house. These happen every couple of months as just a catch-up for everyone. At first, nothing was out of the ordinary. Kay and my dad were off to the side, talking as usual, only I could see that Kay was obviously struggling, so my dad and her went for a walk so she could clear her head. This is something they've done before, so nothing too unusual. However, Steve had an issue with this and asked why they had left and why he wasn't invited to walk with them. I explained that about Tess, and Kay just needed a minute. This wasn't good enough for Steve though, and he said she should have gotten over it by now. At this, my granddad, who is naturally a very quiet guy, said that his best friend had died over 20 years ago, and he still had days where he missed him so much it hurt. You don't just get over something like that. Steve shuddered at that. Kay and my dad got back, and she was in a much better mood. We all sat down at the table for our late lunch and started chatting. Everything was fine at first, until Steve started trying to butt into Kay's conversation with my granddad. When it was obvious that they weren't going to include him, he very loudly stated, "This is bullcrap. She's getting all the attention of everyone because her friend died 3 frickin' years ago. Get over it for frick's sake, we're all sick of hearing about it." The whole table went silent, and I took one look at Kay and knew she was about to go off on Steve, only it didn't happen the way I thought. Rather than exploding at him, she looked at him very calmly and said that her and Granddad weren't talking about Tess. They were making plans to take him to the Christmas markets, but if he wants to be a dick, then no problem. She then went on to say to him that everyone in the family hates him because he's a toxic, narcissistic F-wad, that whenever he can't come to a family gathering, the whole family is much happier. that there is a reason he has no friends, and that his own family can't stand to be around him. That reason is that he's rotten from the inside out, and that Tess may have only been on this planet for 32 years, but she made a bigger impact on people than he would if he lived until he was 150. That her funeral was rammed with people because she was so loved, whereas he'd be lucky if anyone other than Sarah was at his. After that, she got up and went to the back garden, and I followed her. A few minutes later, my dad came out and said that he'd told Sarah and Steve to leave. We went back inside, and Kay apologized to everyone and said she should have just kept her mouth shut. Everyone other than my mum told her that what she'd done was right, and it was about time someone told him. My dad then found it hilarious that a lesbian had been the one to tell him straight, which lightened the mood a lot. We spent the rest of the afternoon there before going to pick Jack up from Kay's mum's house, as she had him overnight on Saturday for us. The reason I'm making this post is that yesterday I got a call from Sarah saying that her and Steve wanted an apology from Kay, or they weren't going to Christmas. When I reminded her that we wouldn't be at Christmas either, as it's our year to spend it with Kay's mum, so it made no difference to us, she got really upset, saying that she wanted an apology because Kay was way out of line. I said she wasn't, and that I wouldn't even contemplate asking her to apologize because I agreed with everything she said, and so did everyone else there. She ended the call, and I just went back to work. Then today, my dad called me and asked if Kay's mum would mind a few more for Christmas, as he was refusing to spend it with Steve, so he and my granddad needed somewhere else to go. Apparently, after Sarah had called me, she called Mum and started ranting, and my mum had told my dad to get Kay to apologize, which he said no to, and they had an argument, and my dad has now decided that he's done with Steve, even if that affects his relationship with Sarah. He's not having it anymore. My mum wants Sarah there, and she won't go without Steve, so my dad is going somewhere else, and my granddad agreed with him. I texted Kay's mum, and she said they were welcome, so now my mum is furious and saying that my dad and Kay are ripping the family apart. So basically, this has turned into a crap show. Kay has said she'll apologize if I want her to, just to keep the peace, but I've told her no way. Everything she said was true. I just don't know where to go from here, and the people in my life all hate Steve that much that Kay could have physically attacked him, and they would all still think she's in the right. So, that's why I'm asking internet strangers who might have had to deal with difficult family members, what can we do to get into a place where we can be around each other amicably? I'm struggling to see a way right now. Wow, didn't realize how long this got until I went to post it. Sorry about that. Jeez, when Sarah said that her and Steve weren't coming to Christmas until Kay apologizes, first thing I thought was, great, everyone wins here. But yeah, it's a bit annoying that Mum is taking Sarah's side here. Kay doesn't need to apologize at all, and the mum should recognize that. Let's go to some comments. Kay didn't do anything wrong, and she shouldn't apologize. I'm shocked that your mum doesn't see it that way, but that's her choice to spend the holidays separately. The relationship your sister is in is unhealthy, and hopefully this will help her see it. When you're right, as you are, you should stand firm. Opie says, thanks, this is how I feel. It's just seeing my mum so upset that hurts, as she's such a soft person and hates any type of conflict. I'm so sorry that you have a Steve in your life. Yes, I've dealt with a family situation where one family member, my mother-in-law in my case, insisted on including someone who treated everyone horribly. In this case, the bad behavior came from her own child, rather than a romantic partner. Your mother is the key to this issue, and I urge you to stand firm. As reasonable people, both you and Kay will have the impulse to acquiesce because your mother is going to be very upset that everyone is not together. Your mother will not try to tell Sarah or Steve that they must apologize or stay away from the family celebration because they are the unreasonable, problematic people. Instead, she will appeal to you, your wife, and your father because you are kind, gentle, and moral. Please stand up for yourself because if you waver, this can go very wrong. You and everyone else in your family have already bent over backwards for years to get to a place where you can be around each other amicably, and that has led you to this place. I say this is where you stake your claim and set your defense. I suggest you let Sarah know that you and Kay will never again, under any circumstances, be around Steve, that her choice to be around you or not is hers, but it will not include Steve. If he is present, you will be leaving. Tell your mother that she can tolerate all the rudeness, cruelty, and disrespect from this man that she wants, but she can't demand that you tolerate it too. and since she is welcome to associate with and host anyone she wants, if she chooses to host this particular person, you will not be in attendance. And then, obviously, you leave on the spot and without a word to him or Sarah or your mother if he shows up. Goodbye isn't necessary. They know why you're leaving. I wonder if Sarah subconsciously fears that if he has no other targets, he might train his fire on her. Regardless, she can choose this man for herself, but she can't choose him for you. Opie replies, Sarah is his biggest enabler, but I hadn't thought about it the way you put it there. My mum thinks with an apology, then everything can go back to normal, but it won't, and she doesn't understand that. My dad is done. He said anytime Steve says anything even remotely unacceptable, then he'll be calling him out on it, and that's only if he allows Steve to be in the same room as him. I do feel for my sister a little bit though, as if she can't come to our parents for Christmas or other holidays, then she has nowhere to go due to Steve's family basically cutting him off, so we are all she has. For things to be peaceful, both parties need to want it. Kay did nothing wrong. I would never spend another moment with Steve. I would let Sarah know I love her and will see her anytime, anywhere, but I'll never see Steve again. If you have one guest that basically wants to crap on the holiday table, there is no path forward with them. Opie says, if it was just Sarah upset, then I wouldn't care, but it's my mum. She tries so hard to keep the whole family together, and she's devastated by what's going on. If it wasn't for her, then Sarah could go take a running jump for all I care right now. And on Sarah, this is the issue that Steve and Sarah don't see anything wrong in what he's done. It was just him being honest. I would be happier for her to apologize if Steve and Sarah admitted that what she said was in the wrong as well. Without that, I'm being stubborn about it. My dad told Kay he'll fall out with her if she apologizes as she did nothing wrong. There was no screaming or shouting. She said it very calmly. I feel like I'm stuck between making my mum happy and doing what I believe to be right. My sister doesn't see anything wrong in what he says as he's just being honest, but loses it when someone is honest back. I don't understand her anymore. On mum, take the high road and rise above it have been two of my mum's favourite things to say to us over the years. I just feel like enough is enough. He crossed a line this time that he can't come back from. I especially don't want my son around him when he's saying things like that about Tess. If I hear my mum say take the high road one more time, I'm gonna scream. I'm sick of the high road. I've been on it for 8 years. I'm happy on the low road now. And later that day, Opie comments, well, I've just found out that my granny and pa, my mum's parents, are going to my uncle's for Christmas and Steve is not invited, so it looks like it's just going to be Mum, Sarah and Steve for Christmas this year. And how Opie feels about that. Vindicated, as my mum is like her parents. They're all peacekeepers, and if ever they've had enough, then it just shows that he's not just stepped over the line, he's run straight past it. Kay's mum has already told her that if she changes her mind, then she's welcome at her house. Even if it's Christmas morning, she's more than welcome. Obviously, Steve and Sarah aren't invited at all, but it's good that my mum has the option at least. I have realised that he has been trying to target Kay and my dad's relationship as they're very close. They've travelled all over the country visiting class car shows together, which Steve has tried to get in on, but he doesn't know anything about cars, so there's no point in him even going if they did like him. I actually think he's been trying to push Kay and I out of the family so that he gets my dad to himself, even though my dad can't stand him. Interesting. Let's go to an update, 8 days later. Hi, I know how much this community loves an update, so I thought I'd give you one, as things seem to be sorting themselves out. Kind of. After I wrote my last post, a few things happened in the next couple of hours. First thing was that I spoke to my grandparents on my mum's side. They were there when this all happened, but they're like my mum and just constantly try to keep the peace. That's where she gets it from. They were supposed to be spending Christmas with my mum this year, but had changed their minds and decided to spend it with my uncle instead. They've made the decision to not be around Steve either, as he causes too much drama. They asked if they could come and see us and Jack on the 23rd before they head off to my uncle's, which I happily agreed to. This really surprised me, and it outright shocked my mum, as like I said, they're the biggest take the high road type people I've ever met, but even that had enough. The next thing that happened was my dad called to let me know that Steve and Sarah had now decided that they want Kay to make a public apology in front of the whole family and admit she was lying and that the family loves Steve. He was laughing as he told me this and called them delusional, so any small chance of a superficial apology went out the window. The third thing that happened was Jack getting home from after school club with a recorder that I am sorely tempted to shove up the teacher's backside, so all in all, it wasn't a great day. Through talking to people on here, I also realised that Steve has been trying to push Kay and I out of the family, organising trips that he knows we wouldn't be able to go on. We wouldn't have gone on them anyway, as a weekend away with him sounds worse than a paper cut to the eyeball, and him constantly trying to get my dad away from Kay whenever we're all together. I think this is because he's jealous of Kay and Dad's relationship, as they're very close and go on trips to classic car shows several times a year together, usually with my granddad as well. Anyway, things went quiet for a few days, until the weekend. Our town has a big Christmas fair that runs from November through December, and we always go to it with Mum, Dad, Granddad, Kay's mum. We decided to cheer my mum up a bit and go on Sunday, and then go out for dinner after. My mum was told that if Sarah or Steve showed up, then we would all leave, and she promised they wouldn't be there. Things were a bit awkward at first, but settled after a while. At one point, Jack got my mum and dad to take him on the giant snow slide, and as my mum walked back over to us, she had tears in her eyes. I pulled her to one side to see what was going on, and she said that whilst waiting in line, Jack had said he was happy Uncle Steve wasn't here. When my mum asked why, he said that Uncle Steve was a bad man. My mum tried to say that he wasn't, but in typical stubborn 4-year-old fashion, he had argued and said he learnt in school that people who say mean things all the time are bad people, and Uncle Steve said mean things all the time, so he was a bad man, and that he didn't like him. There had been a case of bullying in his class a few weeks ago, and the teacher had done a lesson on how wrong bullying is, so I think that's where this came from. This finally broke through to my mum. If even a 4-year-old can see what a horrible prick the man is, then she had to as well. She said that she felt stuck because she hated Steve and agreed with everything that Kay has said, but she loves Sarah and doesn't want to isolate her. I told her I would always be there for her, but I wasn't putting myself, Jack, or Kay through being around Steve again, and she needed to think about what she wants. Not what I want, or Dad, or Kay, or Jack, or her parents, or Sarah, or Steve, but what she wants. She went quiet, and then said that Kay's mum had told her she was welcome at hers for Christmas if she wanted to, and that she could decide on Christmas Day if she wanted. Kay's mum would save her a plate. We went back to the group, and a little while later I saw Mum and Kay's mum having a deep discussion whilst walking behind us. Neither will say what they talked about, but Mum seemed a bit happier after their talk. They've also been talking since, as yesterday my mum told me that she'll be coming to Kay's mum's for Christmas, and they've been talking about going shopping together next week. When Mum told Sarah after calling me, Sarah predictably lost her mind and said that Mum was choosing us over her. My mum told her she was choosing to have a good Christmas rather than being belittled and made miserable, all for the sake of Steve and his so-called honesty. Sarah then called me and asked if I was happy that I'd won. She then did the unforgivable and used a few homophobic slurs towards me and Kay and called Jack the idiot of a tramp. I ended the call, blocked her everywhere, and then let my family know what had happened and that I never wanted to speak to her again. They're all as appalled as I am, and my granny, Mum's mum, called Sarah and apparently told her she was dead to her, as she won't have a bigot in the family. Sarah has been trying to reach out to apologise because she knows she's stepped over the unforgivable line, but I've just kept blocking the fake accounts that she's making on Instagram. Steve tried reaching out to my dad after this, and when he eventually answered, Steve tried to say that Sarah was just angry and didn't mean it. According to Mum, Dad ended up giving him a verbal lashing and told him that he was the worst thing that had ever happened to Sarah and our family. My dad has told Sarah he is disgusted with her, but will be there for her if she leaves Steve. Until then, good luck. Mum has gone low contact as well, but wants to keep the door open so that Sarah isn't completely isolated. I had a few people saying that Steve may be abusive towards Sarah, but I really don't think he is. He usually acts like a dick when the attention isn't on him. He knows that when he says dickish things, then all the attention is on him and he revels in it. After Sarah's outburst, I just think that they're both toxic and feed off each other's toxicity. She lets him get away with the things he says because she gets pleasure out of watching us all bite our tongues and keep quiet. So, Mum's angry, Dad's angry, our 3 grandparents are angry, extended family are angry, and Kay is being my rock, but I can tell she's really angry about what she said towards Jack. I'm just sad and done with her all. At least now I know what she really thinks about Jack, Kay, and myself, so there's that. Not the perfect update, but we move on. It'll be nice this Christmas to have both sides of the family together for the first time and not have to worry about Steve being a dick, but I'm sad that this is how my relationship with my sister has ended. I'm trying to get into the Christmas spirit, but it's a tough one right now. The only things that are making me smile are Kay and Jack being goofy idiots to cheer me up. However, the recorder can go to hell. I curse whoever invented the thing. Like seriously, F you. Thanks for all the support in my original post and opening my eyes to a few things. Maybe internet strangers are the way to go for advice after all. Hope you all have a good Christmas and holidays. One comment says, I don't think the dickish brother-in-law and Sarah saga had concluded. I'm glad you'll have a peaceful Christmas in theory. I just think the pair of them are not convinced yet that they're shut out. Opie replies, it wouldn't surprise me if they try and turn up to my parents for Christmas, but we won't be there, so they won't get far. As long as they stay away from me, Kay and Jack, then I don't care what they do. May small children playing recorders with more enthusiasm than skill follow Steve everywhere. Opie says, this just made me laugh a little too hard. Thanks for that. Now another update, 1 month later. Hi all. This might be a bit anticlimactic, but nothing much has happened. Sarah stopped trying to reach out to me the first week of December after one final message through a mutual friend saying that she loves me and is sorry. My dad has spoken to her once on Christmas Eve to wish her, and her alone, a Merry Christmas. My mum has spoken to her a few times and had breakfast with her on Christmas Eve, but that's it. As far as I'm aware, Steve and Sarah spent Christmas at their house alone. I do know they went to a party on Boxing Day with one of Sarah's friends, and Steve was on his best behaviour, according to someone I know who was there. Maybe he's learning, who knows. I did have a few people asking about why Steve and his family don't speak, and after talking to my dad, I found out that Steve said something to his brother's wife at a family gathering. That led to his brother and him having a huge argument that turned physical. After that, Steve's brother refused to have him around himself, his wife, or his kids, so Steve's mum and dad told him that he wasn't welcome to family events anymore, and they went very low contact with him. He apparently gets a phone call on his birthday and Christmas, but that's about it. My dad was told this by Sarah, who was there when it happened. As per usual, she tried to downplay the whole thing and say that Steve's family were overreacting. Sounds oddly familiar. We spent Christmas at Kay's mum's house, and my mum, dad and granddad all came as well. My mum and Kay's mum haven't ever really spent a lot of time together, but they have recently, and they've become good friends, meeting up for lunch and going shopping together a few times. It's a bit of an odd pairing, as my mum is very straight-laced, and Kay's mum was a punk when she was younger, and now is really into Wicca and natural healing. Seeing my mum dressed in her Sunday best and Kay's mum in her Sex Pistols hoodie is an odd sight, but they get along great, so that's nice. Christmas overall was good, nothing special, just relaxing. Without Steve being around, there was no need to be on edge. Jack was very spoilt and loved every second of it. I'll be honest and say I miss my sister a lot, and part of me really wanted to call her on Christmas Day, but I know I can't have her in my life right now. That's about it really, all very boring. I still want to launch Jack's recorder into the sun, but he loves it, and his rendition of London's Burning is improving. Listening to 26 4 and 5-year-olds enthusiastically trying to play London's Burning on recorder at the Christmas Nativity play was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. That got the biggest cheer of the night, that's for sure. I hope everyone has a great holidays and has a brilliant new year. One comment says, this is not a recommendation, however, a dog can really do a number on a recorder. Great chew toy. Just saying. Funny you should say that. We've been offered a rescue puppy that will be ready in a few weeks, so if we get one, then he or she could solve our problems. Oh, the old school recorder. I remember it well. Anyway guys, that's the end of that story. Yeah, pretty good ending all in all, I think. It's a shame about Sarah, and it's clear that Opie still misses her, but yeah, those comments she made really warrant a bit of separation for now. Maybe down the line they'll be able to repair their relationship somewhat, but that's a long way off, I think. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Anyway, we're going to leave that story there and move on to another one. Okay, this next one's a bit of a saga from multiple different subreddits. It was written by user Icy Memory, and the first one's titled, Am I the a-hole for calling my mother-in-law a liar? Background: my sister, 33, and I, 30 female, are not close. We always catch up on birthdays, weddings, and similar family events, but we are not friends. This is partially because we are very different, and partially because she doesn't approve of my marriage. My husband is 12 years older than me, and we started dating when I was 18. My husband and his family don't like my sister because she is openly feminist and doesn't care about gender norms in marriage. Now the problem. We hosted a birthday party for my son a few days ago. I had a headache, so I was upstairs when I heard my mother-in-law and husband arguing inside. He stormed in our room, said that mother-in-law says that my sister called my sister-in-law a tramp, said that she is ugly and fat, and then left. I said that my sister hadn't said that, because she would never call another woman those types of derogatory words, and husband said that mother-in-law was there and heard everything, and I wasn't. To which I said that mother-in-law is lying, and that would be out of character for my sister to say something like that. He called me an a-hole, and says that I don't even like my sister, and that I get along better with mother-in-law anyway, so how can I call her a liar? He's been on the phone with mother-in-law and sister-in-law the whole day, and I've been made to be this huge jerk. The reason why I said that is those types of words sound like something that my sister-in-law and mother-in-law would use, not my sister. Later, I talked with my sister, and she said that she was helping put together a swing in the backyard when sister-in-law said that she is again in men's business and that she should be helping with food, to which my sister told her to F off already, took her keys and left with her husband. But I didn't know that when I said that my mother-in-law lied, so am I the a-hole? One comment says, "Info, just to be clear, it seems like you're saying that your mother-in-law did lie from the sound of things. Your sister swore at sister-in-law but didn't drop the gendered insults that your sister-in-law and mother-in-law claimed she said." Opie says, "Hi, my mother-in-law is now downplaying everything, says that maybe she didn't understand everything since she wasn't that close, and my sister-in-law cried when my sister left, so she wasn't that coherent. My theory is that mother-in-law didn't actually hear anything, and that she believed what sister-in-law is told, but I don't know that for sure." Another post, a bit less than 1 month later, it's titled, "I am envious of my sister." This is going to be long, I apologize. So I, 30 female, have a sister, let's call her Madison, 33. We grew up very poor in an unstable family. My father left when I was a baby, mother was abusive, but we had each other and we were both very supportive of each other. We somehow managed to grow up very different people. I always wanted a husband, a lot of kids, a white picket fence, whole thing, and she was more of a if it happens type. I got married young at 18 and now have 2 kids with my husband. Madison got pregnant with her then boyfriend, who abandoned her while she was pregnant. She kept the pregnancy and the father is not in the picture, nor is he on the birth certificate. I know she went through hell, raising kids on her own, in between daycare, jobs, keeping the house clean, cooking, etc. When her son was 6, she met a great guy, and after dating for a year, she got married. That was almost 2 years ago. Now, Madison is openly a feminist, and so is her husband. They both work, both take care of the house, they go clubbing, both together and separately, same with vacations. Her husband is raising her son as his own, and even wants to adopt him legally, which my sister refused. My husband is more traditional. I catch myself being resentful of my sister. If she is tired, her husband will make her a coffee and clean their house. Mine says that's my job, and won't lift a finger even when I'm sick. When she is sick, she gets homemade soup in bed, medicine. He dotes on her and is very loving. When they're both in a mood, they order food, make pillow fortresses, and watch movies with their son. I am expected to make all meals, no matter how my day was or how I feel. He takes her son to soccer practice, goes to his games, takes him to movies, ice cream, you name it. So does she, this depends on the work schedule. I have to beg my husband to occasionally show up in school for his own children. My husband makes comments about how my sister takes better care of herself than I do. Sometimes he criticizes her for that too, which she does. She goes to the gym, runs in the morning, always has nails and regularly goes to get her hair done. I can't do any of that. Who is going to take care of the kids, the house? She can do it because her husband helps her. When Madison had an altercation with my sister-in-law, her husband was immediately on her side. He doesn't care if she was right or wrong. My husband would probably tell me to stop being a child and apologize. I know my sister doesn't deserve this, but I'm starting to hate her. She was nothing but supportive, except for my marriage. She doesn't like my husband, but even there, she's still civil with him and his family because of me. And I just want to cry when I see how different our lives are. I hate that I'm like this. I hate how I feel. I feel like I'm the worst person in the world. Girl, the sister doesn't deserve your hate. Your husband does. This isn't a traditional marriage. This is a one-sided marriage, which I suppose are one and the same depending on how you look at it. But sounds like this guy doesn't care about his kids or his wife in any way whatsoever. What's the point of even having a family at that point? Let's go to the comments. This is a husband problem. What you could do is tell him in the morning that you'll be at the gym when he gets home from work, since he wants you to take better care of yourself. He's a grown man. He can pop something in the microwave. This does, of course, require someone to watch the kids. Would your sister be able to do that occasionally? Opie says, "It is a husband problem, I know. Even if I try and find childcare, then he'd be angry that I'm not with the kids." Why are you hating your sister instead of hating your husband? I don't know. I feel if I start to dissect my marriage, then a divorce is on the way, and that scares me. Yeah, it sounds about right. She's scared of what she might discover. Okay, another 4 months later, Opie makes another post. So, my husband, 42, and me, 31, have been married for 12 years. We have 2 kids, 8 male and 4 female. Our marriage is not great. His mother and sister often give unsolicited advice on my parenting, our marriage, and life in general. It's better in the last few months since I sat my husband down multiple times, and we talked, and this time he listened, so they backed off. Not completely, but it is better. In the last few weeks, my husband started mentioning having a 3rd child, which fills me with dread. I love children, always wanted a big family, but it would be too much. I cook, clean, take care of the kids, and work part-time from home. He doesn't really help with the house, which I'm fine with, nor with the kids, which is a problem. I changed all the diapers, woke up at night, I take care of fevers, doctor's appointments, school, playdates, everything. Mere thought of now going through another pregnancy, then taking care of a baby makes me want to cry. I know I'd have to do it all practically alone, because my husband provides and women have been doing it for centuries. I should pull my weight and not be spoiled. It all culminated last night. After another of his, "I take great care of you and the kids, and we should have a 3rd," monologues, I snapped. I told him that he really doesn't, that the kids barely know him. When he comes home from work, he doesn't pay attention to them, except to snap on our daughter when she's too loud. He doesn't know anything about our days because he doesn't ask, and I stopped telling him because he wasn't listening anyway. He is not a great father nor husband, as he likes to preach, and I have no desire to be a single mum of a 3rd child. 2 are quite enough, thank you. He stared at me, dumbfounded, then called me a C-word, delusional and ungrateful, then stormed out to his mother's house. So, am I the a-hole? Oh man, I hate this guy. Let's go to the comments. Not the a-hole. Tell him you already have a 3rd child. Him. Definitely not the a-hole. I do wonder why you stay with him though. I read this a while back and honestly the person who wrote it was correct. What was the biggest shock when you became a lone parent after splitting with your partner? My kids were 3, 6, 9, and 40. Once the 40-year-old moved out, my workload lightened so much it was stunning. Sure, there were less dishes and laundry and general crap around the house, but the real workload, the telling him what needed to be doing, following behind him and then doing it myself anyway, just vanished. Poof. I didn't have to check and see if he picked up the right kid at the right time. I didn't have to argue over who would stay home with a sick child. I didn't have to remember birthdays and anniversaries on his calendar. All I had to do was everything I had done all along, by myself. The biggest change was my mood. I wasn't resentful or angry or making excuses for him anymore. I was just doing what needed to be done without all this extra baggage of trying to teach someone to be an adult or coach a fully grown man into how to take care of things that had to be done to raise a family. The most amazing thing? Every other weekend. I swear to God, I hadn't had 2 days to do whatever I felt like doing, maybe in my life. Definitely not in 10 years or so. No worries, no listening for crashes or screams, no checking on kids every 10 minutes or cleaning up spilled paint or limping from hidden Legos in the carpet. 2 whole days. The very first weekend he took the kids, he brought them back early Sunday morning looking stressed. Did I have any idea? I told him I might know what that's like. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for over a decade, I knew exactly what it meant to be responsible for little lives and the things they get into. I yeeted that idea straight into the sun, and he did finally learn how to manage 3 kids for 2 days, and I got blissful, guilt-free silence, to have a little slice of life, to do absolutely nothing if I wanted. There wasn't milk left out on the counter, there weren't muddy footprints up the carpeted stairs, there wasn't a leaky ceiling from a tub filled to the brim for ship wars, for 2 days, every 2 weeks. Best thing ever. Gee, if that's not a good sell to divorce this prick, then I don't know what is. Opie gives a mini update in the comments. Hi to everyone. I don't know how to update, so I'm doing it in the comments. For clarification, we dated for 9 months and married when I was 18. I turned 31 a few days ago and can't imagine being attracted to an 18-year-old, let alone marrying one, but I didn't think like that back then. Whatever happens with my marriage, I'm not having another child. I won't change my mind when it comes to that. I am on birth control, but I also have no desire to have sex with my husband after how he reacted and treated me. I don't have parents, and I really don't want to go to friends with this. I called my sister, Madison, and told her everything. A lot of things that you guys said in the comments, she's been saying for years. She showed up with food, wine, and her husband. Brother-in-law took my kids to their house for a sleepover, and Madison stayed with me. My husband is still with his parents, didn't call or text. My mother-in-law called, but I didn't pick up. I'm too angry and sad to have a conversation with her. Thank you everyone for commenting and giving me advice. It really means a lot. I will update when I talk with my husband and when I know how to proceed, and when I figure out how to update. Now for the final update so far, 3 days later. Hello to everyone. I wanted to update since a lot of people were worried about me and a lot has happened. For ones who don't want to read a long post, things turned ugly, but I'm safe and I decided to get a divorce since husband and I couldn't agree on how a marriage should look like. Now for a long update. A morning after I made this post, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law showed up at my house. At this point, there was still no word from my husband. Let's call him Ray. It was obvious that they expected me to be alone. My kids were with brother-in-law at my sister Madison's house. She was with me. So we all sat down to have a conversation. I know I was being annoying, but I kept repeating that I don't see a point of that. Conversation should happen between Ray and me. We are grown-ups and married. I didn't see a reason for them to meddle. They took great offense to that. My mother-in-law at one point said that she doesn't understand what happened to me. I'm not the girl her son married anymore. I said, of course I'm not. He married a teenager, and I'm now a grown woman. She turned beet red and started screaming at me, to which Madison said she's going to call the police if she doesn't calm down. After a few insults, mostly how I'm abusing her son and how bad of a mother I am, they left. Ray showed up a few hours later, not to ask about our children or to see how I am, but to berate me on how I treated his mother. Again, I think Madison being there changed his plan, since he toned it down when she came downstairs. He demanded for her to leave. She refused and said that she's going to go upstairs so we can have a conversation, but she's not going anywhere until I ask her to, which I didn't. He started with basically saying that I'm a bad wife, that I don't love him since I don't want more kids, and I blamed him for it. I shouldn't be speaking with him like that. He is a great father to our kids, etc. I asked which kids? Kids he hasn't seen in 3 days and didn't ask how or where they are? He then freaked out when I told him they're at brother-in-law in Madison's house, calling them both vile names that I don't want to repeat. Our conversation lasted an hour and nothing productive came of it. We were going in circles. I was scared because multiple times he started grinding his teeth and putting his hands in fists, but he would calm down after a few seconds. I said if he's not willing to work on our marriage and thinks that he's completely in the right, we should get a divorce. He, at first, said fine, if that's what I want, I should pack my stuff and leave. I started packing. He ranted how I'm going to live without him, how he can't wait for me to explain to the kids why they're moving, and similar. I said that kids are not moving anywhere. They're staying in the house, and which parent stays here is taking care of them. He really couldn't comprehend what I'm saying. I'm not turning our kids' lives upside down. Divorce is enough of a change. They're not going anywhere. Then his tune changed. He was willing to hear me out. I swear I thought I'm going to pop a blood vessel from rage. I said I don't care anymore. We are getting a divorce. Only questions are about logistics and our kids. To not make this post even longer, this also went in circles. Then he grabbed my shoulders and started shaking me. Madison got involved, and they started pushing each other. I called the police. We managed to push him through the door and locked it. He left before the police came. We gave statements and I stayed at the house. I'm fine, but Madison has a few scratches. Currently, I'm bombarded with texts from his family. Again, not a peep from him. I am filing for divorce. I don't know why I thought that this can end any differently, but I'm also glad that I tried. For people who found my previous posts, I'm ashamed of how I was speaking about Madison, but I was envious until I realized that I was projecting my unhappiness with my life onto her. She didn't deserve it. She was and still is an amazing sister, an even better person. Thank you all. I got amazing advice and words of encouragement. The internet can also be full of wonderful people, and I'm grateful for each and every one of you. Alrighty folks, and that's the last update so far. Geez, thank God for Madison. I get the feeling that if she wasn't there, things could have gone down a very different route. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Anyway guys, that's it from me today. I hope you all enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.